short. So pay attention, can you afford? Everyday conversation, decision making, breakdown, point of views, of course. He say, she say, see how we play. Real life issues, hit the replay. Debate in politics, what sport you profit with. Today's word news, food for thought, so come get a plate. Pull up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Daily Joshua podcast. It is me. Yes, I'm still bald, but the beard is gone. Actually, the beard off of work. I'm still trying to deal with that. I miss my beard, but had to do what I had to do. My guys couldn't be with me today, but that's okay. I got a dope guest with me today to have a conversation. None other than Senais Edwards III of Nola Keys, LLC. Bro, thank you for coming on the podcast.
I appreciate it. Definitely, but today we representing the 501c3 today. We representing the 501c3, a nonprofit organization.
Love it. Love it. So to that point, man, let's talk about it. So how did Nola Keys come about?
Man, I'm glad you asked that question. Nola Keys came about back in the day, man, when I actually was taking piano lessons. I always knew I wanted to, give back at some point. So when I started, teaching and started playing at a few churches, I had, a little time on my hand to actually give back. So I wanted to give back, pour into our youth in the community. I know a lot of them are struggling with a lot of different things, and piano lessons are really expensive. So a lot of our kids, a lot of our families can't afford to actually take piano lessons. So I wanted to, do something different in the community and give back, free piano lessons, guitar lessons, drum lessons, but also give away instruments as well too, because the instruments can be really expensive.
Absolutely, man. And I know you started in 2019, so it's always one thing to have, an idea, but it's also another thing to execute that idea. So how did you go about executing your vision of creating Nola Keys?
The way I went about executing it is I actually talked to some mentors that I know that actually been doing business. Some are educators, and I, told them my idea, and it was like, man, that's a great idea. It's a need. We definitely need that going. And when I was growing up in the church, I had mentors in the church, pastor, a couple of the musicians. They taught us how to play multiple instruments. So nowadays, a lot of kids don't go to church. So it's just one of those elements that's missing. And I just talked to a few musicians about this a while ago. Like, what are some ways we can train up these children to become, great musicians? So, that's one of the ways that I went about it, and actually started talking to a few of my musician friends and told them, like, look, I can't do this by myself. I'm gonna definitely need some help. And, they was with it. So, we actually, got it done, man. We talked to some grant writers and different things like that, because we know it takes a team to actually make something, great. So we wanted this to be great. So, just got a few people together and, came up with a plan and say, you know what, it's time to actually execute what we need to do.
Absolutely. And one of the things I've kind of noticed on your page, you always say it takes a village. So it took a village for everything to come together for your vision. And so far, things you've done so far for the community, man, have been great. But kind of want to go back a little bit further. So I know your grandfather, Eddie, had a record store on Washington Magnolia. So was he the one that kind of really taught you to love music?
Yeah, man. So my grandfather, man, it goes deep, man. The roots is really deep. My grandfather had his own record company, Eddie's Freeway. He had a record shop on Magnolia in Washington, where he had free, well, not free records, but he sold his records and stuff like that. But he used to always give away free things to the community. He always did something for the community in the uptown area. My grandmother used to always talk about it. My dad, my aunts, everybody used to always talk about how much he gave back. So that was one of the things that, I said I wanted to do, not just have a business, a profitable business, but have, a nonprofit business where we're actually giving back to the community and different things like that, because that's what it's about, So my grandfather did it. He actually had great relationships with a lot of great artists around the country, like Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin.
Mm,
They actually used to come to my grandmother's house and different things like that. And he did a lot of shows at the Dewdrop Inn that just
okay.
recently opened.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome to see African American man at that time back in the day successful, which was really difficult. You didn't really see, a lot of our, you know, elders successful like that. So I definitely wanted to keep up the tradition. My
Hmm.
dad, he was in it for a little while before he had a bad accident.
Hmm.
But I've wanted to keep up the tradition, and our culture in New Orleans is so rich. So it's like, you see a lot of these great musicians like Fats Domino, Louis Armstrong, Alan Toussaint, and different things like that. You see how great those musicians were, and it's like, all right, so if we don't do what we need to do, like we have to continue the tradition. So you see, the young musicians coming up like PJ Morton, John Baptiste, and stuff like that. So it's like, all right, where's the generation after them? So
Yeah.
we're trying to do what we can do to keep that going. But we are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. My grandfather really paved the way for me to, even be doing this to this day.
And I'm sure right now, man, your grandfather's really very proud of you, man, what you've done so far with your organization and your nonprofit. So, what was the instrument that made you fall in love with music? Was it piano?
It actually wasn't the piano, it was the drums. The
Mm,
drums is just, I started out on the drums and just the different rhythms, it really drove me to like, man, I really want to learn how to play music. Just listening to like a lot of old school music with my grandfather and my pops, when you're thinking about Frankie Beverly and Mays, when you're thinking about Stevie Wonder, when you're thinking about the Gap Band and stuff like that, and just seeing those different beats, I'm like, man, I got to learn how to play this. So
yeah.
I started playing the drums, and one of my old mentors told me, he was like, man, look, instead of you just learning one instrument, you want to learn as many instruments as possible. So I was like, all right, what's next?
Hmm. Yeah.
Then I hopped on the lead guitar and I hopped on the bass guitar, and then I hopped on keys. Well, before I hopped on keys, before I started learning keys, one of my mentors was like, look, he was like, if you really like love music, but you want to get compensated for the music that you love playing, he's like, you got to learn how to play the piano. I was like, it sounds too hard. It's too much. It's too much going on. He was like, you could do it though. He was like, you are very intelligent. He was like, you pick up really quick. He's like, you could do it. So the piano was literally, it was challenging. And
I'm sure it
at
was.
that
Yeah.
at that age, I was just, when I first started playing, I was like maybe 11 to 12 years old. At that age, I was just like, I could do anything. I was
Yeah.
big in church and stuff like that. I was like, whatever I put my mind to, I feel like God is not gonna let me down. So I started playing the piano. It was hard. It was hard, but me having the rhythm from playing the drums, piano is really a percussion instrument. A lot of people don't know that. And just having that rhythm, I had to practice way more than what I practiced any other instrument.
Yeah.
However, once I started getting it, I was like, "Ooh, this feel good. This sound good." Like,
Uh-huh.
and then just playing that, and my mom used to be like, "Turn that music down, boy. It's too loud." And then my dad was like, he came in the room one time. My mom, there was like, "You sound good." So when they told me that, I was like, man, the sky was the limit. So
Yeah.
I started practicing more, and then I started, my first gig was playing in church.
Was that during that time you fell in love with your favorite note, which is the eighth note?
So yeah, eight notes. Listen, the eight notes, man. Really, the eight notes, 16 notes, I love them. Music, it just helps you critically think, and it challenges you. So I didn't, when I first started playing, I first started playing by ear. So like
Yeah.
anything I hear, I could pick up. I could go straight to the note. I didn't have perfect pitch. It took me a couple of seconds to get the pitch, but I knew what was like the right pitch.
Okay.
So it took me until middle school, early part of high school, where I started learning how to read music. So my instructors was like, yeah, you got a great ear, but your ear is only going to get you so far. So when I started reading music and understanding what an eighth note is, what a 16th note is, what a half note, quarter note, whole note, that's when my playing and stuff like that took off, because you have to be able to read to really get into a lot of these rooms, and to be able to even get into college and stuff like that. Like, they want to know that you're able to read the music that they give you. And if you can't, then it could definitely be a downfall. And I think a lot of people saw that in Drumline. Nick Cannon was great,
Yeah.
but he struggled with reading music. So that's something that we teach our kids now, like to this day. Like, that's the first thing we start with is being able to read music and music theory and stuff like that. So I definitely fell in love with it. It took a little while, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
definitely fell in love with it for sure.
That's awesome, man. So then from that point, when did you, I guess, get the confidence to start singing to go along with playing your music?
All right, so quick fact, I actually started singing before I started playing any instrument. I started
Okay.
singing first. I started singing first before I started playing the drums or anything. That's how I knew that, like, my music was really gonna be on another level. Uh, it was a communion Sunday, man, and that's when I had my first solo. And the director at the time, Brother Larry Smith, which we are honoring him for our gala, he gave me the song. He was like, "Seeing as I need you to learn this song." I was like, "Learn it for what? Like, I don't like, I don't want to do this." Like, but he was like, "You have a great voice." And I was kind of second guessing myself. But I was like, "All right, I guess." I told my mom. My mom was like, "Yeah, you should do it." So I learned the song, and that communion Sunday night, man, the church was rocking. Like,
Mhm.
it was crazy. And I believe I was like maybe probably 7 or 8 years old. I was real young. And that was my first time leading a song with the mass choir. Now that was real big, because ain't that would never be a kid to lead a song with the mass choir. So I was like one of the first kids to do that. So
Nice.
I was a little nervous, but once I started singing, man, everybody started clapping. And how sometimes people you singing and people be like, "Oh, you sound good, baby," but they lying to you and they ain't really telling you the
Yeah.
truth. Um, but I knew, like, it was something, because you had people, the audience was standing up, they was clapping, it was like, "Sing,
Mhm.
boy!" I was like, "All right, let's
Yeah.
do this."
Yeah.
Hey, man.
That's awesome, bro. That's awesome. So to kind of fast forward, what was it like trying to push your organization during the rough time of COVID?
So that was really challenging, because we started right before COVID. And it was really challenging because, I'm a hands-on type of learner, and I'm a
Mhm.
hands-on type of teacher as well. And with music, it's better when you're in person versus being virtual.
Yeah.
So it was really difficult. However, what made it easy was my profession. I'm a professional teacher. So by me teaching, our school went virtual. So we had a lot of professional development, to wherein they was teaching us how to use the technology. So they was teaching us how to use the Google Classroom and Skype and different things like that. So me learning it with the school helped the transition for me to utilize that technology with my Nola Keys music program.
Yeah.
So what we was doing is we was doing virtual lessons, um, you know, during COVID. It was difficult because you have a delay when you're live. It's like a delay when it's to the next person. So you gotta really um be careful, and you got to change some settings and different things like that. It would never be perfect, but we were actually able to do some lessons during COVID and stuff like that. Even though we took a little time off when everything at the beginning of it, when like everything shut down.
Yeah.
But towards the end, we actually started, doing lessons, and the kids were asking about lessons and stuff like that. Because music is therapeutic, and everybody know COVID was one of those times where, mentally you was drained, emotionally you was drained, financially you was drained. So a lot of people is looking for things to take their mind off of, the devastation that it did to our country. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was a very unique time, and it taught us how to, differentiate our learning and just and our teaching, and just come up with different ways to be able to actually, teach, our lessons.
So do you think in a way that COVID was kind of a blessing in disguise for you to alter your teaching methods?
It definitely was. It definitely was. And I'm gonna say this the reason why. My short-term vision is for Nola Keys to, of course, be all throughout the city of New Orleans. But my long-term vision for Nola Keys is for Nola Keys to be global
Hmm.
and international. So it helps because we were able to have virtual lessons with kids in Atlanta, kids in Houston, Florida, DC. We was able to have lessons with kids, and I had people in our DMing saying, look, I need virtual lessons. I need lessons.
Yeah.
So we was able to, give them our link and stuff like that. And we was able to actually have those lessons, which was great. So we actually slowed down from doing the virtual lessons because we've been doing more in person, and we are kind of short staffed. So when we, expand, we're definitely going to go back into doing the virtual lessons, and actually, having in-person lessons throughout the country, man, and around the world.
Speaking of global, you actually went to the Virgin Islands last year to teach some kids about music. So to talk about how did that idea come about and how was that executed?
Social media is so powerful, man.
That is.
Social media is so powerful because, even we have this platform, but we don't really know what the algorithm and stuff like that. We don't really know who are watching our videos. So one of the ladies that actually work with Nola Keys, she had told some of her sponsors about Nola Keys music, and they saw some of our lessons on social media. So they contacted us, and it was like, look, we have this opportunity in the Virgin Islands for you to come, all exclusive. You don't have to pay nothing. All you have to do is show up. And I was like,
Say less.
okay,
Say
say
less.
less. I'm like, say less.
Yeah.
So the hardest thing was, it was during the school year. So anybody know me that work with me, I literally never take off time from work. So I told my principal, I'm a straightforward person. I told my principal what was going on, the opportunity I had. And, she was like, look, definitely do it. You have your PTO. She was like, take your days. So I took my days, man. And, we actually got compensated for going out there. I would have did it for nothing because I was just
Right.
excited to even just
Right.
go
Yeah.
out there. But they compensated us for it. It was a life-changing trip. Those kids were so invested into the lessons that they didn't want us to leave. When I say they didn't want us to leave, man, like we only taught, we did 4 days. We did 4 days, and we taught maybe 2 or 3 hours per day. Every day when we finished, the kids didn't want us to leave. Like they did not. They was like, Mr. E, like, we stay. Well, where you going? And like after the first day, I was like, I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. But the
Yeah.
last day, I was like, this the last day. So the kids they
Oh,
were
man.
really, they was disappointed because they didn't want to leave. But it goes to show you that music is needed globally. Music
Yes.
is needed all over. And the kids, I had some kids that actually took lessons before. And for me to come from New Orleans to go way to the Virgin Islands, and some of the kids were able to sing whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes. They understood the language because music is universal. So the
Yeah.
same thing we're teaching here, they're learning out there. And quite a few of the kids are like, we have teachers, but our teachers don't have the passion you have. And they literally fell in love with our lessons. The adults, the actual teachers at the schools, they fell in love with it as well too. So it was a tremendous opportunity. It was a great chance for us to actually get to travel out there, but also connect with the children. And we're actually going to go back out there. So it was just an exciting time, man. And if y'all need to check out some of the videos are on the IG, on our IG, Nola Keys Music. So definitely go there. And that's why I always like to keep those videos up so people could go back and see, some
Yeah.
of the things we've done in the past, man. So it was great, man. I love the Virgin Islands.
So you had to guess how many students did you have during that time period at the Virgin Islands?
Ooh. It was well, because we did two different schools. And if you look at the videos, the classes were large. And by me, this is my 12-year teaching, and I've taught the largest class I didn't taught was like in a gym, which was like maybe 100 kids.
That's a lot of
And
kids.
I guess with my voice is commanding. So like if I
Mhm.
say, all right, y'all, let's be quiet, the kids, sometimes you might have a few of them that may not listen, but I have different, great techniques to get kids to listen.
Yeah.
But in the Virgin Islands, I believe at both schools, it was probably about 130 to 150 kids all together.
Man. Sheesh. That's a lot of damn kids, bro.
It's a lot of kids.
A lot of
It's a
damn
lot of
kids.
kids. Listen. So, and the crazy thing, even on the videos, you see, um, when we did the classes, we instead of us being in a small actual classroom, we was actually in a church because the schools actually had, it was almost like Catholic schools. They had the church as well. So when we did the music lessons, we actually went in the actual church and did the
Okay.
lessons. But it was a lot of kids though. It was a lot of kids, but we had a great time though. We had a great time.
You started your very first annual bike ride atop the peace, atop the violence in August of 2021. So talk about how that event came about and you getting the different sponsors to commit to the event.
So the Stop the Violence You Bike Ride for Peace came about me losing so many kids in education, man. I've been teaching for 12 years this year, and if I tell you the amount of kids I lost due to violence, you wouldn't believe me. Because it's been so many, and we know in New Orleans is a great city. It's the tourists come down here, to see Bourbon Street and to see our culture and different things like
Yeah.
that. But what they don't know is the amount of crime that we had here in our city. Senseless crime, violence and the drugs and the different things like that. So it hit my heart so much to wherein I was like, I have to do something to make our community come together so we can stop the violence.
Yeah.
And one of my friends was like, Senais, let's be honest, you're not gonna stop the violence. Like, you may try to slow it down, but it would never stop. I was like, you know what, you're absolutely right. However, I believe that God works miracles, and I believe even though we may not ever be able to stop it, we can slow it down to some point.
Yes.
And we came up with the thing. We was like, you know what? Let's do a back to school supply giveaway, but let's do a bike ride, because when I was growing up, bikes were so important. Like everybody knew how to ride a bike. And nowadays our kids are so used to being on the phone and on their iPads, on their PS5 or their Xbox, to where
Yeah.
they don't they don't like going outside. Like they don't like, experiencing outside, which I understand because it is dangerous, but we do have some safe areas in the, city where they can actually go out and have a good time. So
Yeah.
I told my team, I said, you know what? I said, let's do a bike ride. I said, the kids don't have to pay for the bikes. I said, we're gonna get some sponsors. I said, if I gotta put up, some money, we all gotta come together and put in. They're not gonna pay for the bikes. So they was like, well, what about the kids that can't ride bikes? I was like, you know what? I got something for that. I said, we're gonna get party buses. So if they can't ride a
They,
bike, they can get on a party bus. All kids love party buses. I got something for you. So they was
uh-huh.
like, all right. So with the party bus, it was like, all right, so what are we gonna do? Like what are we gonna give them? I was like, all right, so let's put it in August and we could make it a back to school supply giveaway. We could give
Mhm.
away school supplies. So we gave away the first year, I think we gave over 100 backpacks. The backpacks were full of school supplies and different things like that. It was awesome. So we got it with called some friends. One of my good friends, his people own Neo. So I called him up. I was like, man, I need some sponsors for this bike ride, this back to school supply giveaway. He was like, say less, we're gonna donate some food. I was like, all right, there we go. We got the food
Yeah.
covered. So,
Yeah.
by Nola Keys music, our mission is to make sure that we change our kids lives through mental health and help with the crime and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what, I was like, let me call you know Ms. Micah from Guitar Center. So I called her up and I was like, look, we are having this event. She was like, you know what, how about we ship some instruments down there? So she shipped a pallet of instruments from Los Angeles. One of our main sponsors that's been with us from day one, Guitar Center. I thank
Mhm.
God for them, man. They shipped a pallet of instruments.
A pallet
A
is big.
pallet.
You don't realize. A pallet is huge.
A pallet. So we were able to give away 20 keyboards at that event as well, along with the school supplies, along with the bikes, along with the party buses, along with the snowballs, along with the food, along with the music. It was just blessings on top of blessings on top of blessings on
Absolutely.
top of blessings. So
Yes.
I told my team, I was like, look, we got to do this every year because the kids at the end of the event, they was like, when the next one is. They was like, I was like, look, we got to plan
Next
this
year.
because this stuff, it wasn't cheap. It was really expensive. So I was like, look,
Sure. Yeah.
give us a year. We can't do this again next month because it
Yeah.
was
No.
it was a lot. So I was like,
Mhm.
give us a year. And I told him, I was like, we'll make sure we do this annually every year.
So, how long did it take for you to put this together? Like, it was like 20 days, 30 days. Like, how long it took to put everything together for the event?
Ooh, it took, so we started, the first one we started about 2 months out.
Okay.
We were about 2 months out, about 60 days out. And my team was like, all right, this is gonna be difficult, but we can make it happen.
Yeah.
And my mom always told me, my grandmother, they always told me, surround yourself around people that believe not only in you and your vision, but surround yourself around positive people.
Yeah.
Some people would have been like, stop it, you can't do that. Like, it's too much, you know, it's too much of a liability and different things. Like, stop. But the people that I surround myself around, they're really positive and supportive. So it took about 60 days for, us to bring everything together. And what we did learn was for the following year, we have to start at least a year out in advance or at least 9 months in advance because you got to strategically plan.
Yeah.
When it comes down to something like that, you got to get permits and all that from the city. You got to, the venue, you got to have insurance. And it's a lot of stuff in the background that people don't really understand that you need to do in order to have a successful event. A lot of people think, it's just, all right, put these two things together, and boom, you have event. And it's not that easy. It takes a lot of planning and, you know, strategically having a great team, because one person can't do it. You have to have a
Yeah,
team that's on the same page, that's able to understand what the vision is, understand what the goal is, understand what the mission is, and execute what needs to be executed.
definitely. And speaking of around people that kind of like-minded like yourself, you earlier this year you actually worked with Cody Gasper, business minded, for the Nola Black Wall Street and that little senior car giveaway for Youth Nola Day. So that was kind of dope too. And the girl who won the car, one of your old students. So talk about how that came to full circle.
Man, that I had to take a moment, man, because
I'm
look,
sure you did.
when you sow seeds, you reap a harvest, you know, and that's why I don't mind giving so much. Goldie, with business minded, Goldie hit me up and told me that she was doing it, and that actually was the second year. She did it before, and
Yeah.
we was one of the sponsors at that event. And you know, some people, you just, whatever they do, you have to support them because they're genuine people. And Goldie is one of those people that's genuine, and whatever she do, whatever she does it well. So when she told me about it, I was like, oh, put us down, put Nola Keys down as a sponsor. You know,
Yep.
we'll come in at the, you know, bronze level, and you know, we'll give back. So I made sure I told all of my kids at the school, I was like, look, y'all need to sign up. They're giving away a car. Not too many people gonna give you a car.
No.
And listen, I'm like, they're
No.
giving away a car. They was like, what we have to do? How much the raffle tickets? I was like, there is no raffle ticket. I was like, all you have to do is sign up, make sure your parent is there, make sure you have your valid driver's license, and make sure you have like your diploma or your, you know, certificate saying
Transcript.
that you actually graduated. So
Yeah.
I told all my kids, man, I was like, all right, like if you there, you could get a blessing. If not, you could miss out on your blessing. And
Yeah.
some people missed out on the blessing. But
Yeah.
this young lady that received the car is a great young lady. And I'm not just saying that just because, you know, I work at Car, but she is what Edna Car talks about all the time, and second to none. And if any kid deserve it, she deserves it because she's respectful. She has great parents. Actually, I know her dad. Her dad was there. She's an excellent scholar. She's actually at Howard University right now. She's at Howard University. She's doing great things, man. So when they called her name, and I think they called two other people before her. I think she was like the third or fourth person that they called. And that goes to show you, when God has something for you, man, listen, it's for you. So when they
Yes.
called her name, man, I literally was about to cry. I was like, oh my God. Like, and her dad was just talking about getting her a car. Her dad was just talking about getting her a car. And here, while he was trying to figure it out, God already worked it out to where she was gonna be blessed with a car. So man,
Yeah.
I just say big ups to Goldie, man, and you know, for doing that event every year. And the car sponsor, Hustle Man, um, I forgot his real name, but I know what they, you know, normally call him. But I just thank God for people like that, because in order to
Yes.
be a blessing, in order to get blessed, you have to know how to be a blessing. And nowadays, a lot of people always have their hands out, and you know, you don't see a lot of people giving. You know, so I told her, man, anytime she have something, you know, if we could support, we definitely gonna support. So, but that was, man, that was a great moment.
Yeah. Big shout out to Goldie. You're always doing some great things for the community, man.
And shout out to the CEO of Inspire Nola, Mr. Jamal McNeely. Shout out to the whole Inspire team, because they're doing something that's just different in our community. Back in the day when I was growing up, and we had Teen Summit. We had Teen Summit.
Yeah, I remember
We
that. Yeah.
had a lot of different things that brought the youth together and different things like that. So Inspired Nola started the Nola Love Rally to bring a lot of our kids and our communities together. So Inspire said they're going to take the initiative to make it happen themselves. Instead of waiting on the city, instead of waiting on state, instead of waiting on federal, they're going to actually take the initiative and do it themselves. So, and they did it. They, got some of the top people, some of the top entrepreneurs in the city, top artists in the city, and actually started having
Yeah.
these rallies to where when they're talking about peace, they're talking about love, they're talking about community, they're talking about unity, they're bringing the kids together and having a positive message. And from the first year up until now, it has grown tremendously. Like we've had a couple of months ago that had Charlemagne the God,
Yeah.
TD
Nick
Jakes, they
Cannon
didn't
too.
had Nick Cannon, it then Ricky Smiley, like national artists, national entrepreneurs that then came down to give back to our kids, and that's what it's about. Even Eric Thomas, the year that Eric Thomas came, and even Leon, Wall Street Trap came
Yes, I
one
saw
year,
that.
and just powerful. And what I love about it is that they're not just coming, but they're leaving our kids with resources. They're giving books away to where when the kids are able to leave with something in their hand where they can take with them home. So it's just so powerful to see, things like that bring our city together. So it wasn't just Inspired schools, it was schools from all over the city. It was some private schools. You had St. Augustine, you had Warren Easton, you had Carver, Martin Luther King, you had all of these schools coming together, for a great cause. And I will say this, we never had a fight at none of those events. No fights,
Thank the
no
Lord.
fussing, no drama, just pure
Love.
love and a great time. So to see that, man, and every time I see Mac, I tell him, is he's doing God's work, So definitely, big shout out to Inspire Nola for, just making that happen. But these are the things that we need in our city, in our country to make a difference and to let our community know that there is still genuine people in the world and there are still genuine organizations in the world that would do the right thing to make sure our kids get to the next level.
Absolutely. And even to that point, man, I also think you deserve your flowers too for what you've been doing. And not only for myself speaking, but you got yourself a proclamation from City Council earlier this year. So talk about how that moment felt when you were told, hey, you're getting this proclamation from the City Council.
I was speechless. I was speechless. I
Yeah,
totally didn't expect it. But it just goes to show you when you sow those seeds, man, you get blessed all kind of ways. Not doing this for shape, form, or fashion, but doing this so God could get the glory. So we partnered up with Youth Day NOLA 2 years ago. And Youth Day NOLA is an initiative with Cess45, his aunt, Auntie Faye, and a lot of other community organizations that comes together. And we have a Youth Day event once a month where we pick a different park every month and we go to a different community every month sowing seeds. And at that community, at that park, we have free food, we play games, music, we have a whole lot of fun, And what Nola Keys committed to doing is we give away a free instrument every month.
love it.
So every month for the last 2 years, we've been giving away a free instrument every month.
Love it.
So one of the guys was like, bruh, are you able to do this? Like, where is this coming from? And I was just like, is God, man. Like, God give me the resources, and sometimes we still have to come out of pocket and actually pay for those instruments, because Guitar Center, they're our sponsors, but they ship us pallets maybe once or twice a year, and we give those instruments out at our events. But
Nice.
it's upon ourselves to continue on giving out these instruments at the Youth Day events. So one of our slogans is guns down, instruments up. If I could get to every kid how some of these negative people are getting to our kids and introducing them to drugs and introducing them to these guns, because you have some kids that have guns at early as the age of 10 and 11 years old.
So
And I see it because I've worked with kids and I be in the community. I'm feet on the ground. I'm from Uptown, but I will go anywhere in the city. To the
yeah.
east, 9th wall, 7th wall, 6th wall, wherever I will go, because I feel like I got God on my side. But you have kids with access to guns at the age of 10, at the age of 11, at the age of 12. So one of my friends told me a story. He used to work in the middle school, and he was like, man, one of the kids failed my class, and he was like, he went to his house, and the kid told him, say, bro, don't go to my house. He was like, don't come to my house. He said, if you come to my house, I'm gonna have something waiting for you. So
Oh,
my friend was like, man, I ain't worrying about it. He was like, I'm gonna call his mom, I'm gonna come to the house anyway. He was old school. He went to the house. Guess who opened the door? The kid opened the door. Guess what the kid had in his hand? A weapon, a gun. And he told him, he said, bro, didn't I tell you don't come to my house? He said, if you don't leave in front of my house, he said, I'm gonna blow your head out. This this real life. This ain't no movie. This ain't no play. This ain't no, I'm talking about real life problem. So my friend hit me up. He was like, bruh, he was like, you wouldn't believe what happened. So I told him, I was like, man, look, just pray. He was like, he had to file a report and different things like that. But it just go to show you, man, I was like, you know what, man, we have to do something. So our biggest thing is guns down, instruments up. If I could put an instrument in every child's hand, and I think that will make a big difference. They might not use it. They may not use it right then at that moment, but eventually they may, man, I got a free piano. I got a free guitar. I got some drumsticks. Man, let me use these sticks. And at the end of the day, that could help you make a difference. I could teach you how to make money. I could teach you how to fish so you won't have to fish for the rest of your life. So that's where that came up. And, the council members, they saw what we were doing in the community, and they reached out to me, and it was like, we want to, honor you all. They didn't tell us they was going to give us a proclamation. Actually, they invited us to City Hall. I had to miss it because it was during testing at the school, and I couldn't miss the school. So Seth called me. He was like, man, I have something for you. I was like, what? I was like, just tell me. He was like, no, man, I won't. He was like, meet up with me, And man, when he gave it to me, man, I was like, man, what? I was speechless. But Councilman Green and Oliver Thomas, man, they really, told me that, what we're doing in the community is not going unheard of and unseen. And it was just like, whatever we could do to support, definitely we will do that. And the other council members, they reached out via email. So it was just great to see that, our work is not going, in vain and stuff like that,
I told you earlier, man, like it's not going unnoticed. Like what you're doing for the community, man, like people are watching. Not a lot of people will say anything, but for the most part, people are watching, man. So keep up the great work. And now speaking a little head further, your gala. So talking about that, what people can expect from that.
All right, so we have 2 weeks. We have 2 weeks left. 2 weeks left for the gala, December 7th.
That's next week,
at
right?
LJ's Auditorium.
Next Saturday. Yeah, next Saturday?
Not this Saturday, the following Saturday.
Whoa, next Saturday. Yeah, next Saturday. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the following set. Yeah. So we got 2 weeks left. it's going to be a great time. Me and my board got together and they were like, man, we should do a gala. This is our 5th year. And I was like, you know what? I don't know about that. And, we talked some more and I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. So the gala is going to be really, really nice. It's going to be a time where we all are able to come together and have a good time and understand what music is about, what Nola Keys music is about. So we're going to invite all our sponsors, all our community leaders. We want to invite the entire community to come out for this event. And we're going to shine light on, what we've been doing with our kids, our vision, our mission, and different things like that. We have a whole lineup available that entertainers, because hey, it's Nola Keys music, so we have to make sure that the people are entertained. So we're gonna have Piano Man G and his entire band. They're gonna be playing. If you haven't heard of him, you're in for a treat. It's gonna be phenomenal. T-Rated violinist will be there. He's phenomenal. So we're looking forward to that. DJ Ram 504. He's a Purple Knight. Senais alum. He's going to be there. Everybody know DJ Captain Charles.
Yes.
Captain Charles is going to be in the house, and we're going to have some Mardi Gras Indians. My boy Kendrick, he's going to be there, and one of the best brass bands in the world, the Troop Brass Band, will be there showing out. So it's going to be great, and we're also honoring people that were important to Nola Keys music, some former educators. So one of the educators are Mr. Clyde Lawrence, Grammy Award winning director at Eleanor McMain Secondary High School. The next one is Derek Tabb, which is a Grammy Award winning. He used to play with Rebirth Brass Band, but he's the CEO of Roots of Music. They're doing a phenomenal job in the city. Joseph Knox, who's been in education for 25 plus years he's at Landry. Jesse McBride, which is a phenomenal pianist. He's then traveled the world. He's over there at Tulane. He's one of the professors at Tulane University. He's a great, great guy. Brother Larry Smith, that's the guy who gave me my first solo when I was in church. And in memory of Reverend George Guidry, he actually gave me my first piano, my first guitar. He passed away in 2019. So we are honoring him as well, too. So it's going to be a great event. Definitely get your tickets. You could go to nolakeys.org to purchase your tickets, purchase your tables. Tickets are going fast, so please get them now. When they sell out, don't call Cena. I'm not going to be able to do nothing for you. So definitely get them while you can. It's a black tie event, so the ladies are going to be in gowns. The guys are going to be in tux or suits. So definitely come out. It's going to be a great time. If you ever want to give back to an organization that's doing the work like every day, this is the organization. So I'm looking forward to the gala. It's going to be a lot of fun. But we're going to also, let people know, what the music look like in our city and what we're trying to do to make sure we keep our culture alive so we can actually continue to make an impact on generations to come.
Man, I love to hear that, man. And I just want to say, man, thank you again for coming on this podcast. It was been so great to hear your perspective on the things you've been doing. Like, because I've seen it in the past, but it's always kind of good to see and have those conversations with you, man. And just, we see what you're doing, and it's really great work, and it goes unnoticed. Right. And hey, man, keep doing what you're doing. We're proud of you, and keep going. And yeah, thank you for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you for having me, man. Definitely appreciate it, man.